scheduling the salespeople along with the production as well too. Tricky, because usually we're talking human beings, human capital. People can become pregnant, need maternity leave. Human beings need medical benefits for the most part, right? If they're not being supplemented somewhere else, or through the government of some sort. Human beings become sick, call off. Some people no call, no show. Some of your employees could be unreliable. You may have a surge in demand, certain periods of time. Who can you call on to help you out? You may need to send people home at certain points, right? If there's no really work available. Maybe you choose to outsource and have contract employees. You don't need them for long periods of time, nor do you want to pay them the benefits, which is an expense to you as an owner-operator. We need to plan out and schedule these events. And that's what we're going to look at for chapter 10. All right, a few things we're going to learn in this chapter. Rationale between the levels in operations planning and scheduling process. We'll describe the supply options used in sales and operations planning, compare the chase planning strategy to the level planning strategy. Using spreadsheets for sales and operations planning, develop workforce and workstation schedule. So what is ops planning and scheduling? Well, by definition, we're saying process of balancing supply with demand. We are meeting the expectations of demand and supplying the right amount of things or people to facilitate those things to meet the demand. All right, we're gonna look at the aggregate level, which is the total level of operations needed to meet the demand, down to the short-term scheduling level, right? Things in which we have to look at on day-to-day, how we go about scheduling people to make the operations work, and also scheduling the products as well too. All right, types of plans we have, right? So we got S&OP, right? Sales and ops. Let's plan the future aggregate resource levels so that supply is in balance with demand. Company's department production rates, workforce level, inventory holdings consistent with demand forecast. So you're looking at inventory, the right amount of inventory to meet the demand, the right amount of people that you need to have available in order to help your sales and operations, right? You're looking like the right production levels if you're a manufacturing company. What is the level of production you have at certain periods of time? And time phase, so we say months or quarters into the future. Typically it's usually in quarters, especially for public companies, things that are on a quarterly basis or annual, but maybe for your operations you might want to be focused on month to month. Right? It might make more sense for you to calculate things. Production plan, sales and operations plan for manufacturing firm that centers on production rates and inventory holdings. So with production, we're only looking at how quickly we can produce the items and where can we store them along the way. Staffing, which we just talked about, deals with service firm, which center on staffing and other human-related, resource-related factors. So if you're gonna be operating a service-based company, your major sort of concern is having the right type of people and the right amount of people in order to facilitate to your customers. Resource plan, intermediate step in the planning process that lies between selling and operations and scheduling, determines requirements for materials and other resource and more detailed level than sales and operations. And then schedule, detailed plan that allocates resource over shorter time horizons to accomplish specific tasks. All right, so we got in our aggregate plan. We got services or products. Maybe for a barbershop is both, right? We say, hey, we're providing a service, the experience, but we also provide a haircut, right? There's sort of a two-pronged sort of facet. We need to have the right people to give the haircuts, but that's also part of the product. The product itself is, yeah, I like the haircut, I don't like the barber, right? Barber has a horrible attitude, barber showed up late, gave me a really great haircut, but as a service, the service was crap, right? Service was crap, product was good. So we have to maybe look at something doing about that, right? And calculate how would that affect our business moving forward. Workforce, the right amount of people. Gets a little bit tricky, even with our bakery. See, we might have somebody need to come in an hour early and stay an hour late. You need setup costs. I need you to set up the place before we can even open the doors to start operating. I need you to stay an hour late so we can clean up the place after we've already closed the door. I need someone to come in overnight, so I need to do overnight baking to be prepared, right? And how do you keep those employees happy? How do you keep them motivated? You say, hey, I have $15 an hour, I can't pay my rent. Right? I gotta leave this job. Right? $16 hours, I can't pay my rent. $16 hours, it's like, wow, the pay is pretty good, but they don't give any benefits. Think of yourself as students looking for a job, what you're looking for, right? And then on the flip side, you're thinking of yourself as owners of a business and what you're gonna be provided with. So when it comes to humans in the workforce, it gets a little tricky, right? It's not only are people looking for to be paid an hourly wage or either a salary, we have to say, what are the benefits here in order to boost motivation and morale to keep my employees happy and working? You'll find it to be probably one of your biggest sort of anxieties, right? The people that work for you. Time, right? The amount of time that we assign the individuals to work for us, the amount of time it takes to set up for operations, and the amount of time it requires for things to be produced. And we have information inputs, right? Things that can be calculated, tabulated in some sort of system so we can monitor our entire plan. Then we got related plans, business plans and annual plans, right? So we say you have a business plan. Do you have a business plan? Tell me about your marketing, show me a couple balance sheets, right? We want to look at maybe projected profit and loss. I want to know something about your operations, and it usually should be very unchanged over a long period of time. And then you have your annual plan. Right? Hopefully you're growing, so things change on an annual basis. You need to devise a new strategy and plan every year in terms of how you expect to grow and keep growing to some degree. All right, diagram here for sales and ops plan. So we say here at the top, we got our operations, right? What is the capacity that our machines can produce? What are our future capacity for some of our plans? What are our capacity for our workforce? How hard can our employees work? What can they actually produce? Are you overworking, overburdening the employees? Who here has a job right now? 1, 2. Who here is overworked? 1.
Last night I was expected to run 2 sections at the same time.
Right, and you say, well, why did that happen? Scheduling gap, right? What about your other jobs over here? What do you do?
I'm a cashier.
Cashier. No stress, no problem. Are you being paid enough?
I think so.
Okay. Are you getting enough hours?
No.
Okay. What do you do?
I do PPC at a dealership.
Are you being paid enough?
So I get paid, you get paid like a base minimum, and then you get paid off appointments too, so it becomes a cheap.
Base salary plus commission.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you getting enough hours to make it worth your money? Are you getting benefits?
I'm only part-time, so.
Part-time. Okay. So think about that, right? How are you designating sort of, how are you treating your employees, right? You're giving them enough hours, because you're thinking of retention. We see a lot of these places, retail environments, you're like, every couple of weeks I see new people here. Right? And you say, is the owner okay with this? The owner okay with retraining people all these different times throughout a year? That costs a lot of money, it would cost a lot of time in between, right? but maybe working out for them, so who knows? Distribution and marketing, right? So we say customer needs, demand forecast. What are people actually buying? Remember we say 20-80 rule. 20% of the things we sell usually generate 80% of the revenue, right? We even think of our barbershop. We say 20% of people come here, want some face or retwist or something of the sort, right? And like, that's 80% of our business. Every once in a while, somebody come in on a special haircut of some sort. And then competition behavior, important. You have to assume your competition is smarter than you, right? You have to assume that they know something you don't. Your competition, whatever they're doing, tends to be them paying attention to someone else. It's all chain of events, right? And so you have to kind of tweak and move when they move, especially if they're within close proximity to you, if there's geographical sort of thing happening there. You want to sort of tweak your operations to them, right? Kind of the gas station effect. When you drive down Harlem Avenue, BP located right across the street from Mobile, and like one is 1 cent cheaper than the other. How much will that drive demand just because one is 1 cent cheaper per gallon on fuel, right? Probably makes a difference though, in terms of demand. Material, supplier capabilities. How much can your supplier handle? You have high expectations for the number of bread you want to have in a bakery. Unfortunately, they can't produce that because they already got other business, right? So you may have to seek elsewhere because they can't meet your expectations. Storage capacity. Hey, we're doing phenomenal business. We just don't have a place to store the stuff anymore. So what we do, we have to go out, get a storage unit, maybe buy another lease or purchase another facility. It's gonna be a ton of money just to house the stuff. Distribution centers we have, inventory warehouses, things like that. Then we got accounting and finance, right? The big one, cost data. How much does it actually cost? How much does it cost you to make the money that you make? Right? We tend to sort of bypass that. We say, wow, look at all the money that I can make from this. And then along the journey, we say, holy crap, I didn't realize that there were 20 additional steps in this process before I got to the end of selling the product, right? And now we realize that the profit is actually not that big. The profit margins are usually pretty low, depending on if you're in some sort of investment sort of sector or some sort. Financial condition of the firm. You say, hey, there's a ton of demand, but we just don't have the money to expand. I don't have the money to start up the business adequately, right? And it's making me suffer in some way. Are you taking on too much debt, right? How much of it is debt? Do you have enough cash flows? Things like that. And then when it comes to production, we talk about engineering. We got new products. Are you coming out with something new? Are you devising something new? Such as with our harness, right? A novel sort of product. It needs to be engineered. It needs to have a prototype, a concept, right? Measurements, things need to be concise each time, replicated over a number of period of times. And product design changes. Hey, you get poor feedback from your customer. The straps, they tear. You know, we tried it for 3 months and they tear. Hans doesn't tear. My Hans has lasted me for 2 years, right? Say, oh, we gotta go back to the drawing board. We got an issue with our straps. Maybe we need new supplies or new material for the straps, the harnesses, some sort. Maybe it's the buckles themselves. Maybe it's the metal. Or maybe it's the grade of the metal, right? Something of the sort. But we say, hey, we're doing things that need design changes. Going back to the drawing board, right? Things need to be revised. Some not completely need to be changed, but usually nothing's perfect, right? And then machine standards. You're like, oh, we have the machines to produce the stuff. they just do them at a really slow capacity, right? Or they have a high degree of depreciation. You say, I have machines, but they only last me 1 year, I have to buy new machines each year, which is a very expensive cost I don't wanna take on. Maybe you need to spend more money to have something that lasts a little bit longer, better quality. Right? All right, and then human resources, which can be a real tricky one, right? Labor market conditions. Labor market conditions. We just talked about minimum wage. Like, geez Louise, I have to pay $16, $15, whatever minimum wage. At minimum, I have to pay these people. And you say by law, you say if they work X amount of hours, I also gotta pay them time and a half, double time, right? And just the thing, they may say, that's not enough, but for you as a business owner, operator, you're saying, well, that's a lot. For an 8-hour shift, 15, 16 hours for my little tiny operation, I don't know if that's sustainable, especially depending on the number of employees I have. And that's just the bare minimum. We're not talking about benefits, social security withholding, all right, taxes, health insurance, all right, dental, vision, all sorts of perks. And then training capacity, right? How quickly can you train someone? Right? How long is that gonna take? If it takes too long, you're losing money while you're still waiting around for people to be properly trained and be properly trained, right? Training is one thing, but assessing how the training turned out, right? The capabilities of that employees is another thing. You have to go back and sort of look at them each year, have some sort of evaluation, see if it works out for you as a business owner. All right, here's our different levels, the relationship of sales and operation plans to other plans. We start out with a business plan or annual plan, right? We say we have our business plan, introduction, executive sort of statements, right? Our mission statements, goal, let's say 3 years sort of projections of what we expect to sell, and so on and so forth. Then we have our operation strategy, which is completely different. It's our operations, every minute detail in that process up to the point to which a customer buys it, right? Every single step required for you to get that product or the service to be completed before a customer purchases it, right? Completely different, because usually operation is this course. We're learning the fine details of what it requires to operate properly. Then we got our level 1 sort of plans, right? Our forecasting plans, which you all have been doing. You're saying, hey, it's going to estimate cost going to be $137,000. It's an estimation, it's a projection. Those numbers could be far off, right? Could be completely far off until you realistically start honing down and talking to people and making some actual moves, right? But before that, you're just projecting. Then you have our sales and operations plan. Also go with constraint management, where we talk about theory of constraints. So we got our sales plan and our operations plan, right? How do we operate the business, but how do we actually sell, right? What is the devisable plan for us to sell it, advertising, the people involved, right? All of the above. Whereas our operations deal with the movements, right, within the firm. But we have our level 2, we got our resource planning, right? We wanna plan our resources, material requirements planning. We're producing something with our materials, we're producing danishes and other baked goods. There are materials involved, flour, water, sugar, bread, maybe additional things as well too. And that's all going to cost, right? And then we got our service resource planning, right? How do we provide a great service to the customer, because that's really where the value is, right? The value is within the service itself. Excellent food, crappy service, I'm not coming back to this restaurant anymore. You said, but the food is excellent. But yeah, I value the service more than the food, so I'm not coming back, right? We need to pay attention to that. And then last, we have our level 3, which is our scheduling, which is job and facility Scheduling, how do we schedule the job, right? We assign someone a task, and now we assign them more tasks. We say, oh yeah, by the way, can you manage this? By the way, can you clean up that, right? By the way, can you do all of these additional things as part of your job, right? And we need to assign and schedule you accordingly. Workforce scheduling, which just typically deals with assigning hours, right? Days, hours, weeks to employees, what times they're gonna be working. Are we gonna fire people, right? As a part of our strategy to lay people off every few months, right? Because we know it'll be a down season. And then equipment and job scheduling as well too. Having the proper equipment, being available for the correct job at the same time. All right, so resource planning, this is a process that takes sales and ops plans, process time standards, routings, and other information on how services or products are produced, and then the plans, the timing of capacity and materials requirements, right? So we say for this, we're looking at the amount of time in routing, right? We're looking at the amount of time in processing, right? How we move things together, how we process them so we're able to get them ready to be sold, and what are the capacity and limitations for things like that, including material. With scheduling, we say this is a process that the resource plan can translate into specific operational tasks on a detailed basis. All right, so we're looking for taking these things from routing and process and capacity and translating them into specific tasks on a detailed basis. Such as anticipatory inventory or anticipation inventory, right? You may have anticipated that you need X amount of goods, but in reality, you have forgotten that you can have a ton of waste. There may be a change in demand, right? You expect too much or you expect too little. What is our time?
51.
Okay, sorry. Let me go. All right, we'll come back to this on Friday, and we'll have some more estimated costs. All right, everyone. Yeah, have a good day.